Hey guys, what up? It's February 8th, and let's go over my take on AMD and the earnings presentations from last week. Earnings numbers, conference call, all that, all right? Now, AMD is one of my favorite positions. This is not like my last video on PayPal, which was all just a lot of bad and thunder and lightning and hurricanes and headwinds. This is the complete opposite of PayPal. So very happy to report on this stock. It's one of our best positions. Okay, now before we get started, please hit that like button and subscribe. Definitely appreciate your support. Hopefully you learned something and we have some fun in the meantime. Okay, so let's get to it. All right, but before actually we do that, let's go ahead and disclose my position on AMD because I get a lot of hate on the Stock Gliders Discord. You know who you are when I'm showing you this. 88 shares currently owned by the account at 82.75, up about 55% on the position. No interest in selling. None. We are not trading this stock at all, okay? So if you guys are saying, what's your sell point, price target, not even thinking about it. We're just happy shareholders at the moment, okay? Now, let's move on to the real stuff. Now, it's a refresher for those of you that don't know what AMD does. This is a semiconductor maker, okay, and a producer of semiconductor chips. What you're going to find is chips like the Ryzen chip. This is a CPU chip. This is sort of like the brain of the computer. If you're a computer builder, you like chips like this, you like Intel, we'll talk about it in a little bit because these guys are eating Intel's lunch. You also have graphics processors, otherwise known like these guys as video cards for higher performance video gaming and such. We also have business solutions like data center, cloud, high performance computer, business, and workstation, okay? So that's essentially AMD in a nutshell. I welcome you to go through the website and look at everything they do. Their EPYC chip, there's a lot of information about this one. They're making a killing here with the EPYC processors and also with their AMD Instinct for data center and cloud. Very good stuff going on here. You guys can see how they're sponsored by video games and they do very well in the video game sector. So nothing bad to say here on AMD. Great business model overall. Go to the website, check it out. Now let's look at the chart, guys. Let's look at the 1-year chart of AMD. Currently trading at $128 a share. This is a stock that at its highs here, 164 at its highs, and currently dropped after that because of this whole interest rate, or Federal Reserve interest rate hike fear. Went down to about $100 a share. I know it says 105 here, but if we actually put that a little bit bigger, it's about $100. There was a big seller who sold a lot of stock, about $50 million worth of it at about $101 a share. And I think this person's going to regret it for the rest of their life because it went right back up. I even thought about it. I even thought, and I told people in the Stock Gladiators Discord, I said, hey, if you're not on AMD, it's time to get in. I mean, I don't know how much lower it can go. I thought it could go to maybe under 100, then pick up some, but I got too greedy, and I should have added. Didn't do it, but I'm totally fine. My position's set, so no harm, no foul there, okay? Now, when it comes to the valuation metrics, it seems a little bit expensive, to be honest, to just in a first look. Trailing P of 46 times earnings and forward P of 29 seems expensive, specifically with a forward P of almost 30 in a high rate environment. May seem expensive. However, when you look at the growth rate of the company, I mean, this is just fantastic. We're looking here at an average growth rate of about 30% in 2022. I think this is still low. This is 37 analysts coming up with this number of a 30% growth rate in 2022. I think demand is too strong. Supply chain is still sort of an issue, even though they're handling really well. I think this is going to be low, and I'll show you guys later on the guidance how that is probably low or on the low end, okay? Now let's get to the good stuff here. We're looking at the earnings numbers, and like I told you guys, this is the complete opposite of PayPal. You had red all over the board on PayPal. Here we have solid beat after solid beat after solid beat, okay? And we'll start with EPS, 92 cents versus 76 cents expected. Great. Revenue up 4.82 billion versus 4.52 billion expected. That reflects 45% year-over-year growth and 12% quarter-over-quarter growth sequentially. I mean, fantastic beat on the revenue side. We have gross margin beat as well, 50% versus 49.4 expected. And the guidance is just phenomenal. This is where you can start seeing that Yahoo Finance number being on the low end. Full year 2022 guide of 33% year-over-year growth. So when you think about the Yahoo Finance number and you think about the number that AMD themselves are giving you, you think about six straight years of outperformance for this business. And Yahoo Finance says 30, AMD says 33. If you think that AMD is going to beat that 33, which I surely do, I don't think they set 33% because they are going to just meet it. They're setting it because they know they can do better. So this stock is a buy any day, all day, even at this price, in my opinion. Okay, now we're going to the gross margin guide is better than expected, 51 over 50. And quarter one guide, 5 billion over 4.3 billion as expected before. Still, 45% year-over-year growth. Amazing, and 4% quarter-over-quarter. Excellent, solid earnings numbers here from AMD. Very strong, as usual. Now, if we're going over the earnings actual report on their investor relations site, I would suggest that you guys go through all this because there's nothing bad here that you can find. I've went over the GAAP numbers, non-GAAP numbers, annual results. Please, somebody find me something bad here because I can't find it. If you do, leave it on the comments. I'd love to hear from you if you guys find something bad here or something that just doesn't add up. I'd love to know, okay? But in order for me to explain how each business segment is doing, I don't want to use this earnings presentation. I want to go to the PowerPoint presentation and go over the product portfolio and how each segment is doing based on the product portfolio, okay? I think that's a better way to explain how each of these guys are doing here. So here's their product portfolio brought to you by the slides on their earnings presentation. And you can find this on the investor relations site. But I want to start with the computing and graphics segment, which is your Ryzen family of chips and your AMD Radeon chips. These are your CPU chips and your graphics card. So in this segment here, we're seeing 32% year-over-year growth in this segment. And this is being driven by high demand in notebooks, okay, and higher average selling prices. When I mean higher average selling prices, if you guys watch, for example, CNBC, you hear a lot of talk about choosing stocks with pricing power. When you hear higher than average selling pricing, that is pricing power. That means that inflation is not going to make the price of these chips, these graphic cards, worth any less or more difficult to attain by companies. These are in high demand, so companies will pay the extra price for these products, which means pricing power, which is fantastic for us shareholders. Another thing to note is that the AMD Ryzen chip, which is as good as it's ever been and as advanced as it's ever been, continues to take over market share from Intel. This is the chip that is eating Intel's lunch right here. Customers are choosing AMD over Intel probably 3-1 at the moment, and Intel should be panicking at the action going on here with AMD. But that's all good for us shareholders, okay? So good news there. Now on the graphics side, we have revenues growing over double. This is your AMD Radeon, but also on the data center side, these are your data center graphics cards that have also doubled year over year. So incredibly strong in that segment. Now to recap, this was the computing and graphics segment. Now we're talking about the actual enterprise segment, which are these guys right here, okay? But we'll start with the semi-custom segment for Xbox and PlayStation 5, all right? These chips that are sitting in the semi-custom segments have grown by 75%. Pardon my writing, but 75% year over year. The demand for these consoles is extremely strong and will get stronger as time goes by. If you go to a Best Buy and they have 5 available PlayStations, you're going to see people in tents out there waiting to buy these consoles. So nothing is slowing down in that segment, if not picking up. You also have the Steam Deck from Steam, the company, that is going to have the AMD Ryzen chip in it. I mean, this is just more and more demand for video gaming and video gaming power from AMD. So good stuff all there. Now, one of the most powerful segments is the cloud and server segment, which is part of the enterprise segment with their AMD EPYC line of chips. So we're talking about strength here, strength here, strength here, strength here. And this is extremely strong with a huge check mark. At the end of the day, this is the big daddy that is driving market share, is driving growth, is driving net income, free cash flow to the business. These EPYC chips. This is the ultimate definition of performance and money printing ability for AMD. So at the end of the day, we reap the benefits as shareholders. So essentially, in a nutshell, this is how the business segments break up and how they're doing, okay? Now, in the rest of the presentation here, I would encourage you to look over these financial summaries. I could go over them one by one, but it would take me forever. I don't want to do that to you guys. You guys can see these revenue numbers, free cash flow, operating cash flow numbers, quarterly summaries, computing graphics segments. I've kind of went over all that already. You guys can see that essentially by trying to make it easy and looking at these photos and showing you what it is, it's just a lot easier, especially for those that don't know the company. But to move on, I want to also move on to another important aspect of the earnings presentation, which is the acquisition of Xilinx, okay? So AMD announced that they were acquiring Xilinx back about a year and a half ago, and that they were working and they needed Chinese regulatory approval to do that. They received that approval on January 27th. The Chinese Administration for Regulation, or whatever it's called, or the entity of the Chinese government is called, gave them approval to acquire Xilinx. So now, on top of all those business segments that we were talking about, now we're going to have exposure to all these business segments: aerospace and defense, automotive, which is the holy grail of semiconductor chips in the moment, the reason we own NXP Semiconductor. So now with the Xilinx acquisition of AMD, we even have more automotive exposure for portfolio, which I like. You also have some data center, some 5G, some other stuff here that I'm still looking into, but it's just expanding the business to make us more money. And under the leadership of Lisa Su, the phenomenal CEO that she is, it's nothing but good news at the end of the day, all right? Now, here's some conference calls highlights, or the highlights from the conference call, which Lisa Su, the CEO, heads. And I wanted just to bring a couple of things to attention. We talked about a lot of this stuff here already, so I don't want to kind of go over the same thing again. But you're talking about the 6th straight year of greater than 45% year-over-year revenue growth. Fantastic, okay? Computing graphics segment strong, driven by Ryzen and Radeon chips, when record notebook sales. That's laptops. Phenomenal, okay? And then belief that they're gaining market share for processor chips. Talked about that. That's Intel. They also had their first public demonstration of the upcoming Ryzen 7K processors at CES, and I was there at CES. Whoop, 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 okay? On track to launch the second half of 2022. This demo is actually online on YouTube, and you can actually find it. You can just go AMD CES 2022, find it on YouTube. I guarantee you're going to be happy with that presentation. Very, very good presentation there, okay? You also have Radeon 6K series GPU with first mainstream RDNA to desktop GPU priced at $199. These are graphics processors, video cards, also mobile video cards, which are now 20% more effective than their previous models. These guys are always looking to modernize, to do better, to innovate their products and make them more effective. Kind of like the EPIC processor for data center and servers. They just do better and better every year. That's why they're the preferred chip for servers, okay? We also have data center, server, and cloud revenues more than doubled year over year. Semi-custom, we talked about that. That's Xbox and PS5 revenues increased 75% year over year. Chinese approval of Xilinx. And then in the Q&A segment, they know over and over again that there is heavy demand for all business segments of AMD. And I'll close it with that, guys. So in conclusion, I want to just let you guys know, like I said, very happy shareholders of AMD. If you do not have a position on the stock, I would definitely recommend that you look into it, because this is going to be a high-flying, high-performing stock, especially when interest rate fears secede. You want to use essentially these macro events and the fear of interest rates in your favor to add or increase your position in AMD in a way that makes sense for you. Okay, if you guys have any questions about any of this that we talked about, please let me know. Hit me up on the Stock Gladiators Discord. Hit me up on Instagram, Twitter. Let me know what I can do to help you guys. All right, peace out.